Hey, well, good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us. I know we have alumni here, we have friends of the university, some students who also registered to join this webinar, and we definitely wanted to bring this topic to the community because unemployment has been on a surge and we know how important it is. So we're lucky to have Lucretia here to talk about tips and strategies that you can implement in a tough hiring climate. But before I introduce Lucretia, just a few reminders here for this webinar. One, if you can kindly keep yourself on mute, that would be great, just to eliminate any background noise. You can go ahead and use the chat box for questions throughout the hour. We'll try to address those questions as we move along. And we should have some time at the end of the hour before we wrap up to address any other questions that you might have. But the goal is to make this as interactive as possible. So feel free to chat in your questions as they come up so you don't forget them. And then lastly, this webinar is recorded, so you'll be able to go back to it at any point. We post all of our upcoming events and recorded webinar sessions on our Lifelong Laker webpage. So I will be sending all of our registrants a post-event email, which will include just a quick survey to get some feedback, but it'll also link you to this recorded session. So without further ado, I want to introduce Lucretia Davis, who is a career coach, a career job searching expert, and also an RMU alumna. We're very grateful to have you here today. Thank you so much, Lucretia. I'll go ahead and turn the mic over to you and let you dive a little bit deeper into your background.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Christy, for having me today. I am super excited. And thank you for not forgetting to mention that I am an alumna of RMU proud. So today I am going to be teaching you guys how to navigate the tough hiring climate right now. Just to give you guys a little bit of background about myself, I'm Lucretia Davis. I am a career coach and also the owner of Next Up Resume. I have been in this business for about 4 years, and it has been amazing. So to date, my companies have assisted over 1,300 job seekers in landing new careers. So today I am going to impart some of that knowledge on you as to how we do that. So I'll just kind of jump right on into my PowerPoint here. Again, we are going to be discussing smart job hunting in a tough hiring climate. And I want to put emphasis on smart because I truly believe in job hunting smart and not hard, and we'll get into that more later. Today, we are going to learn 2020 job searching best practices, leveraging the LinkedIn platform, tapping into the hidden job market. I'm sure you've heard that term at some point before, and establishing a professional network. Now, I want to start out by discussing the 2020 job searching best practices because it is important to begin this presentation by letting you know that it's important to employ multiple different strategies and not to rely on a single job searching method. For example, the job boards. Now, the job market as we know it has changed. 10 years ago, and even 5 years ago, we now have applicant tracking systems. And so if you are not aware of what that is, it is the system through which you submit your online applications. So when you go to a company's website, you're uploading your resume, you're filling out some stuff, you're doing surveys or questionnaires and what have you. That is the applicant tracking system that you are submitting your application through. And the applicant tracking system has algorithms set up. So it weeds out candidates that don't include pertinent information on their resumes to demonstrate that they can do the job. And so it is important to have an effective resume. And it is important to understand how to create your resume brand in order to pass through those applicant tracking systems. So I want to begin there. And I'm not going to expand too much on resume writing because I know this webinar is strictly about job searching. But it's important to note that you need to have a targeted resume. It is very, very important. So my recommendation to you is to identify 1 to 3 target positions, right? So say for instance, you want to work in HR, the HR field. Okay, what type of position do you want to work in HR? There are so many different position titles that make up that industry. So would you like to be a talent acquisition person? Would you like to work as a business partner? Would you like to focus on compensation? Would you like to focus on change management? Those kind of things. And that is going to allow you to build an effective resume strategy, meaning you will know based on your target positions if you need to create a single resume or if you need to create a few different resume versions in order to market yourself for these different roles. Once you have identified your target positions, it is important to study job descriptions, study at least 3 to 5 job descriptions for each role to get an understanding about how hiring managers think about, describe, and prioritize your position. Many of us, we feel that we know off the top of our head what the position entails and how to market ourselves for that, but it's important to make sure that you're using the right content, jargon, keywords, all that different stuff, so that you are setting yourself up to pass through those ATS systems. And then once you have gone through that process, you can now build a targeted resume. Now, let's jump right into job searching strategies. Now, let's say that you have a stellar resume and you're set to go. Before you begin your job search, I always recommend for you to set a schedule. Now, this is kind of more on a light note, but it's very important because when you wing it in your job search, meaning you say, hey, this week I'm going to apply for a couple of positions, there's no consistency. There's not a ton of dedication or focus towards your job search. So you need to set a schedule. And an example of a schedule would be applying for jobs after work for an hour on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Okay, so allocating whether you are going to spend 2 or 3 days for 2 hours or 1 hour, that kind of thing. Okay, a lot of people, especially if you are employed while still looking for another opportunity, you have to really be intentional about how you are going to spend your time and when you are going to spend your time focusing on this. And then next, you want to identify your favorite job boards. We all know about Indeed, we know about LinkedIn, we know about Monster, all those different sites. But don't forget about industry specific sites. So if you work in the healthcare field or if you work in hospitality, don't forget that there are several job boards that are dedicated for positions for those industries. Okay, so once you've identified your favorite job boards, then you want to create job alerts. Okay, I'm sure this is something that you're already doing, but I just want to reiterate that the importance of this is you need to try to apply for new job postings within at least 48 hours of it being posted, because companies receive hundreds of applications within the first couple of days of positions being posted, and you want to be someone who's at the top of mind versus the opposite. And so once you have created your job alerts, then you need to post your resume, create accounts, post your resume to these different job sites. And you want to make sure that you post the PDF version of your resume, not Word. You don't want someone stealing your documents and that kind of thing. And so that is crucial in order for you to tap into the hidden job market, which we will discuss a little bit more later. But this will allow those recruiters or hiring professionals that are searching for candidates themselves versus posting the position on the job boards. This is a way for them to come straight into your inbox inquiring about if you're open to a certain opportunity. And then finally, the other thing that I would like to discuss for 2020 job searching best practices is to focus on quality versus quantity. It is important to nurture every single lead. So that is, instead of applying for 100 positions in a month, it would be alternatively applying for 15 to 20 positions, but building connections within those organizations, following up on every single opportunity is the way to go. All right, so now I am going to jump back on the screen so that you can see my face again. And I am going to continue on with the presentation. And I'm also going to be sharing my screen with you to kind of walk you through a few other cool things. So next, I am going to discuss establishing a professional network, right? This is important. And I know you have heard network, network, network. You need to network, you need to network. But you're probably wondering how? How do I do that? And how can I find the time to do this daunting thing, right? But networking isn't as scary as you think it is. And it is very, very, very important. And so your goal with establishing a professional network is to get referrals, okay? Get referral links and get insider knowledge. Okay, I had a client who was able to interview with Twitter, ComplexCon, Pinterest.
It doesn't make sense.
Someone's talking. If you can mute, please, that would be great. Thank you. All these different places because they were able to get referral links, meaning the application that is posted for people who have no ties to the organization, right? They have a different job application or job application link than someone who is coming in through a referral. So if you know someone who works at, let's say, Twitter, and they are able to send you a referral link, you are almost guaranteed to at least get an interview. And that's why you need to make sure that you are showing up and showing out for your interviews, because this doesn't guarantee you the job. But if you get referral links from employees that work at companies that you are targeting, you are almost guaranteed to get an interview. They will at least see what this person who works at their organization, who vouches for this person, has to say. All right, so networking. You have your primary network, which includes classmates, past colleagues, past bosses, past clients, okay? That consists of your primary network. And so what you want to do is reach out and let them know that you are on the market, and be very specific about your intention and your goals. And so this could be as simple as reaching out to someone who you went to school with and you notice that they are working at a very cool organization, or you notice that, hey, this is someone who had the exact same career path as me and they are already on their way. I want to network with them and see how they are doing that. And so that is also an opportunity to get insider knowledge about certain companies and what it actually looks like to work in a certain role. Anyway, so this could be as simple as saying, hey, past colleague, we used to remember we attended such and such's class together, or, you know, we went to Roosevelt together, and I noticed that you work for PepsiCo, and this is a company that is exactly on my target list. I would love to connect with you over virtual coffee to learn about your experiences. Okay. So that is tapping into your professional or your primary network for informational interviews. That is the key word for this segment of the presentation: informational interviews. So now I want to segue into your secondary network. And your secondary network includes potential bosses or colleagues, potential colleagues. And so this would be reaching out to someone who is, let's say, for instance, you are targeting an HR position. This would be reaching out to an HR manager at the company. And we are going to talk more about networking and researching and finding people to network with when we get into the LinkedIn segment, because LinkedIn is the place where you can find all of these people. And it's going to become more clear how you can do this when I show you how to research folks on LinkedIn. So the next thing that I want to get into is leveraging the LinkedIn platform. Now, LinkedIn is not the same that it was back in the day. I remember sitting in my college prep class at RMU, and I remember we had to create LinkedIn profiles. And at the time, it was just an online resume. LinkedIn is no longer this online resume. LinkedIn is the place where you can job hunt while you're asleep, and I'll get into that. So, getting your LinkedIn profile updated is not the end all be all. Meaning that when you hear the terminology of increasing your visibility in LinkedIn, that is not a matter of just a matter of the profile content that you have, right? What really makes the difference for LinkedIn is engagement. Okay, engagement. That is how you beat the LinkedIn algorithms and show up in more searches, and you get more recruiters and hiring managers directly into your inbox to talk about opportunities. Just so you know, when we talk about job hunting while you're asleep, right? You may have seen on LinkedIn that you showed up in a certain amount of searches, right? You want to increase that number. And so it's important to engage on LinkedIn at least 2 to 3 times per day. Engage 2 to 3 posts every single day. And that is liking a post, commenting on a post, sharing someone else's content that adds value to the community. That is how you are going to improve your visibility during LinkedIn, because when they, recruiters I'm speaking of, go into their LinkedIn recruiter product, which is what they use to find candidates, they are going to search, let's say, project manager. There are going to be hundreds of pages of results that pop up. All right. And so the people that are showing up on those top pages of results are people that are the most visible on LinkedIn, not the people with the most coolest profiles. Even though having a great profile is something that you need to work towards, because once you start attracting more people to your LinkedIn profile, you want them to not be disappointed. Okay. So again, LinkedIn is the place where you can improve your visibility by engaging 2 to 3 posts every single day. And if you do that for a couple of weeks, you will start to notice that you're getting recruiters into your inbox asking you about whether you're looking or if you would be interested in an opportunity. And that is what I call job hunting while you are asleep. And then, So why don't we just go ahead and go to LinkedIn so I can share a couple of things with you. And then I have a couple of questions. Which resume should we post on the job boards? All of them. Um, which resume should we post on the job board? So yeah, you should post a PDF resume to the job boards. And this is why it's important for you to have a clear understanding of what you are targeting, because you shouldn't be targeting accounting and then human resources. You know, it should make sense. So I hope that answers your question. I am going to share my LinkedIn with you guys in order to show you exactly how this works. Now, let's say that we're going to do a couple of searches here, and I want to focus on the LinkedIn People Finder, right? So let's say that you have just applied for a position with Twitter. And I don't know why I keep using Twitter as an example. I guess it's the first thing that's coming to my head. But let's say, for instance, you've just applied for a position with Twitter. Within 24 to 48 hours, you are going to follow up on that opportunity by letting someone know who has hiring authority that you just recently applied for a role. And I promise that nudge, that simple nudge, makes a difference. And I am going to show you how to do that. So let's type in Twitter. And so I typed in Twitter, okay? And then I am going to click on Twitter here. And then I am going to see all Twitter employees that are on LinkedIn. And then what you can do is, so here is like a search that I've just performed, right? And so here are some people who work at Twitter. I am mostly interested in people that work in the talent acquisition department, recruiting department, HR department, because again, I am following up on an opportunity that I've just applied for. So here are all of their employees. Then I am going to go to all filters, and then I am going to go down here where I'm able to type in a job title and find people within this job title. And I always change between talent acquisition and recruiter because you just never know which terminology a company is using. So I'm going to start with recruiter. Wow, lots of recruiters that have come up. So if I had applied for a position in Chicago, then I am going to go back to my filters and I am going to base the search on the Chicago area. And if no one shows up, then that tells me that this company, Twitter, has their HR department or offices in other states. And so I need to follow up with someone who is in that state. It looks like San Francisco. I would probably just reach out to Rebecca or someone who I share something in common with. You are able to see who you went to school with. Okay, so if Rebecca also went to RMU, I would see that here. So far, I immediately noticed that we have over 11 shared connections. And so what I would do is shoot Rebecca a note. Hey, Rebecca, I just recently applied for the career coaching position. I have a strong background in the career development space. And while I know you may not be at the interview stage yet, I would love to have a preliminary conversation about my background if you would be so open. Let me know if that works for you. Here is how I can be reached. Okay, so this is what I mean by nurturing every single job lead and not just applying for 100 positions and just waiting to hear back. When you focus on quality, that means you are following up on every single job opportunity and or finding someone who works at that company. So let's do another search here. So we've already discussed following up. Now let's say that you, okay, so let's go back to Twitter, right? So I'm going to go to Twitter, go back to all employees, and let's say that I have just applied for the project manager position. Okay, so I see a lot of project managers at Twitter. So I would reach out to someone like Megan or someone else who I went to school with, if there was someone like that. RMU Pride, hey, I see you work at Twitter. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'd love to, invite you for virtual coffee kind of thing. But you get the point. When you're networking, always focus on people who you share something in common with, like being a part of the same sorority or sports or university, that kind of thing. Or even share connections. Hey, I noticed you're connected with Mike. I am too. Do you know him personally? Kind of starting that conversation. And so I would reach out to Megan, and this is someone who I'm reaching out for an informational interview. And this is my secondary network. Someone who is a potential colleague would say, hey, Megan, I noticed that you worked at Twitter as a project manager. I'm considering applying for a project manager position, but before I do so, I really, I'm reaching out to learn about other PMs at Twitter, their experiences. Would you be open to having virtual coffee? And then I would set up the meeting if they agree to do it, send them a Starbucks e-card, coffee on me kind of thing. And so that is reaching out to someone who is a potential colleague. And then again, you can also find other people who could be a potential boss as well. And so that is leveraging the LinkedIn search in order to follow up on job applications and start networking conversations in order to secure informational interviews. Any questions so far on what I just covered?
Doesn't look like we've had any additional questions come in, but I really appreciated how you went through the connection process, and it's very personalized. And I know I've heard countless stories from alumni or students or previous, colleagues who they found success through LinkedIn and connecting individually with others. So thank you so much for sharing that. And feel free, if you have any questions, to continue to type them in and use the chat box.
Yeah, and then one other thing that's important to note about LinkedIn is that building social influence is a great thing. And what I mean by that is, if this is something that, if you're that kind of person where you want to, build a LinkedIn following or share knowledge and things like that, I certainly recommend it, because there are people that are getting jobs based on their influence, their social influence. And so if you are passionate about your field, sharing value on LinkedIn, and not only does that helps to increase your visibility, but it also helps to establish credibility for yourself. And there are so many examples of people that I can throw out there on LinkedIn that literally have secured jobs at Microsoft, LinkedIn, all those great places because they post on LinkedIn. And you probably feel like, it's not my job to post on LinkedIn, or I don't want to become an influencer. You don't have to, that doesn't have to be your intention. It could be simply documenting your story. It could be, you know, sharing your failures and successes and your wins and letting people know what you've learned about it. And that is a great way to build social influence. And so instead of just engaging other people's content, which is good, it helps you increase your visibility, to take it a step further, posting your own content on LinkedIn is the way to go. And that, I can't even begin to go into all the examples that I have of people that were able to get jobs just because someone admired their passion or resonated with their story, wanted to help, wanted to give someone a chance, kind of thing. All right, so chat. All right, I wasn't aware of that LinkedIn ability. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I treat LinkedIn like my Facebook, even though I'm not, I mean, I don't post food or, you know, selfies or anything like that, but I'm the CEO of my career. And so LinkedIn, my career is important to me. So LinkedIn is where I'm mostly like posting at. So I'm on LinkedIn more than I'm on Facebook and Instagram. And LinkedIn is no longer that site where it's just about, you know, posting jobs and you being able to apply for jobs. I mean, there's some real cool stuff that you could find on LinkedIn. So how important are cover letters if you are sending? Yeah. So what you want to do is when you are sending, when you are networking, right? Let's say you're following up on an opportunity that you just applied for. Don't attach your resume. It's too pushy. Don't attach anything. If they're open to it, if they you know, if it seems like they're biting a little bit, then you can kind of, you know, mention that you have a resume. You can kind of share it with them, but I wouldn't attach my resume. If you are networking with recruiters, which we're going to go into soon here, or other people that work in your job title at your, you know, or at your target company, I wouldn't send them your resume or cover letter. I would start the conversation, and you should know when it's right to go for the ask, because when you're networking, people don't want to feel like they're going to have to do too much for you. They don't want to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to help this person, or this person is going to be asking for too much, that kind of thing. Just always know that the key is to know that people love talking about themselves. So if you were to approach someone on LinkedIn, you should always lead with, I want to know about your experiences versus how you can help me, right? So, you know, you want to go for the ask once you've established a relationship or got that person on the phone. But the first, when you first reach out to someone, no, I wouldn't do that. And hopefully that answers your question. Anything else? I've seen people post that they are looking for jobs on LinkedIn, posting their actual resume in the feed with COVID. It's encouraged if you post your resume on LinkedIn, but you have to have a strong call to action. Meaning, do you want, so let's say for instance, a couple of examples I've seen someone post their resume to their feed and say, hey, please help me. You know, hey, take a look at my resume and let me know what may be a good fit for me, or if you're working on something. You need to have a strong call to action so that it is very clear as to what your goals are. And so an example of this would be posting your resume and attaching a message such that you were just recently laid off, due to COVID and you are reaching out to your network for support and you are looking for this kind of opportunity in this area and to, please reach out or tag someone please reach out if you can help or tag someone who can help kind of thing. So it is encouraged, but you don't want to do it in a desperate fashion. You want to, again, have that strong call to action and just kind of let people know that, you're back on the market. But don't be one of those people that are just like, here's my resume. Let me know how you can help me. No, you got to tell them what you want, what you need. Anything else? Yeah, you're welcome. All right. So the next thing that I am going to get into is, yes, tapping into the hidden job market. Does anyone know what the hidden job market is or have heard of that? If you can, in your reactions, hit a thumbs up if you've heard of the hidden job market. All right, okay. All right, we got some people that know about the hidden job market. All right, cool. So what you should know about the hidden job market is that, first of all, there are, so many opportunities that are hidden, and they say it's 80% are jobs, 80% of jobs are within the hidden job market. And that statistic has been thrown out there and has been challenged. We don't know exactly what that statistic is, but we know that it is true that there are a lot of opportunities that are hidden. And you want to know why? First of all, companies would rather buy from within, meaning they feel like if a person who is a referral or someone who already works at this organization knows someone, that this person would be a better fit or would be a better fit for the role, meaning that they are trying to avoid turnover because turnover is very expensive. If you think about it, you get hired, you're undergoing training for about 90 days without any real output, right? Because you're still learning, right? Let's say you only last for 6 months. They then have to, they wasted all this time in training and they didn't really get a huge return on investment. Now they have to hire someone else and they have to utilize their resources for onboarding and training and all of that stuff. So companies are trying to avoid turnover as much as possible, and sometimes to their detriment, that they really want someone who knows someone. And so I have worked at an organization where every time there's a new job opening, they would send out an email. Do you know someone? Who do you know? Send over their name or resume, that kind of thing, right? So companies would rather buy from within. It feels more safe that way, right? And then the second thing with the hidden job market is that you must know that there are certain companies, due to their large size, they fall into certain categories of compliance laws, meaning that they have to post their job description to the internal and the external job boards. There are some smaller and some mid-sized companies that if they don't have over a certain amount of employees, and I haven't been fresh on the laws this year, so I can't really quote if it's 200 or 100 or thousands or whatever the case is, but just know that certain companies are required to post their positions on the external job board and some aren't. And The ones who aren't required to do that, they leverage recruiters, third-party recruiting agencies, or they focus on people that their staff knows, or their talent acquisition team will start reaching out and start looking for candidates that they want to reach out to, that they choose to reach out to, instead of posting this position online and getting hundreds of applications, a great percentage of them not even remotely qualified for the position. Some of them don't want to go through that. And then when you think about the companies that are required to post their positions on the external job boards, know that it's just a formality sometimes. And sometimes they could be entertaining someone who's internal, or entertaining someone who has come through, through one of their employees, right? And so as a formality, they would post it. And so that is why it's important to employ various different strategies. You should never just rely on the job boards. You should be applying for positions on the job boards, but always following up, using LinkedIn and networking, right? So let me see questions here. Are those jobs that are available but not posted? Yes, absolutely. Yep. Do you recommend using a recruiting agency? I am about to go into that, honey. Don't worry about that. All right, I am getting right into that. Actually, next. Actually, no, there's one other thing that I want to discuss first, in regards to tapping into the hidden job market, is that reverse job hunting is a great way to go. And what I mean by reverse job hunting is, instead of just going on the job boards and seeing different postings out there and, trying to open those doors, it is building a target company list. So, you want to really work for Twitter. Oh my gosh. I promise I'm going to get that out of my head. You want to work for Twitter or Ernst & Young or something like that, then if you build a target company list, then you can take the approach to focus your efforts on knocking down those doors, tapping into your secondary network, potential bosses, potential colleagues, people that used to work there that may know someone. So reverse job hunting is building a target company list, right? And knocking down those doors. And the next thing that I want to discuss is recruiting agencies. So I do recommend working with recruiting agencies, but you have to make sure that just as much as they are screening you, you are screening them as well. I have a lot of insider knowledge about the industry because I worked as a corporate recruiter and also as an agency recruiter. And so when you, let's say, apply for a position at Ernst & Young and you get reached out to by a recruiter that works at Ernst & Young, that is the corporate recruiter, right? Internal recruiter. But then the Robert Halfs of the world, the Beacon Hills, all of those places are agencies, and they do have good opportunities that you could entertain. And so I definitely recommend leveraging recruiters. However, it is important for me to say that if you have no experience whatsoever in a job, meaning you are a very, very early graduate, and you don't and it's not an entry level position, right? Meaning they are requiring experience, or if you are someone who is changing careers, then a recruiter may not be the best fit for you. And here's why. Let me explain. Agency recruiters, they serve the interests of the hiring companies, right? They are looking for candidates that meet the hiring company's needs. And that is because it is very much a it's kind of like sales. It's kind of it's a sales driven industry, right? It's a sales driven industry. So meaning that if you were to get into a job and you don't last your 90 days, then there is a potential that that recruiting company isn't going to get their compensation for making that connection if you don't last on the job, which is why they are very careful about focusing on people who have the exact experience that the hiring company is looking for. So if the hiring company requires 5 years of experience, then and you don't have you have zero experience, or you don't have anything close to 5 years of experience, then you're not going to be a good fit. And they'll probably ghost you, right? You probably heard of that term. There's a lot of ghosting going on. You're wondering, why did I just talk to this recruiter and they said they were going to get back to me? They said they were going to submit me for this opportunity. What happened? Likely you did not fit the hiring company's needs in terms of your skills, or you don't fit the salary budget or what have you. And so here's how it works. Just a little bit of insider knowledge about the industry. The reason why I said that it's sales driven is because it is. So meaning that there are some recruiters who work at these agencies that have been doing this for so long, and they built a solid book of business that when certain companies have open positions, they'll reach out to their trusted recruiter agent, Lucretia, to help them fill this hiring need because they've worked with her for a long time and they trust her, and she has brought them great talent. There are that's one case scenario, right? The recruiter who does have the connections, the relationships with these companies. The second one is the recruiter who is trying to build connections with these companies in order to be their long-term trusted recruiter, right? And so in that case, oftentimes recruiters are using candidates as bait. And I say that with the most respect, but meaning that they are dingling this candidate in front of the company saying, hey, I have this hot talent that you haven't found yet. Will you talk to my candidate now? And so it's kind of like them using your information to build that relationship. So meaning that they don't have the official contract to hire for this role, meaning that if by chance you find someone who we didn't find on our own, who's irresistible, that we got to talk to, then okay, all right, I'll talk to them. And so it's important to screen recruiters just as much as they are screening you, because the thing is, what I've just explained is some of them have the relationships and some of them are in the process of building that. And so one way you can find this out is by saying to the recruiter, hey, yeah, I'm definitely interested in this opportunity. It sounds great. How long have you been working on this position with the company? Or do you know why this position has opened? What happened to the last person? Or how many candidates have you sent over so far for this role? And what were some of the feedback? To see in a polite way, to gauge in a polite way if there actually has been some activity, or if this is a situation where they're going to be sending off your information in hopes to hear back. Because sometimes when you are ghosted by recruiters, it is a matter of, one, you may not be qualified for the position, or may not be the person that the hiring company is looking for, or two, the recruiter was ghosted by the company as well. So it's important to know when you're not wasting your time. And the best case scenario is to work with recruiters that have those relationships and have the okay from this company that you are my recruiter that is hiring for this role. Because as you know, you may have noticed out there too that you've probably seen the same exact position on several different recruiting agencies' sites. And that is because, again, it's a sales method, right? It's a sales method to generate a client, a candidate base, and send these candidates to this company to see if someone piques their interest. Let me go to questions. Can you speak on the agencies that charge fees? Yeah, so there's a difference between headhunters and recruiting agencies. Agencies don't charge you, they charge the hiring company. So if you get hired, then the company is going to get paid a certain percentage of your starting salary. Headhunters, they work for you. Recruiting agencies work for the hiring company. So the headhunter is, it's expensive. It's expensive. But if you can afford it and you don't have the time to really job search and you want that spokesperson for you, that is their dedicated job to unlock opportunities for you. But you don't have to do that. You can still find opportunities without paying thousands of dollars for a headhunter. So note that there's a difference between headhunter and recruiting agencies. I had gone through 3 rounds of interviews with Amazon, and there was just one last round for which they had booked the airline ticket to the person there for the position and never back. Yeah, I mean, it could be that the position actually did go on hold, and at least the recruiter did circle back and give you some type of update. But if it has been a couple of weeks, then I would reach out to thank the recruiter again for meeting with you about the opportunity, and that you understand that in light of COVID, things are, tough right now, and a lot of positions are being put on hold. And you just wanted to follow up to inquire about the status of the position and let them know that you are still interested in the role in the company. All right, so that was the end of the question. But recruiting agencies, yeah. So again, what I was saying was about all the job descriptions, the same job description being posted on all these different recruiting agency sites is because, again, they are looking to generate that candidate pool. And it's a sales method. And so you want to try to find out if this recruiter actually has a relationship with this company, and if they were given the go ahead to be their representative to search for a new candidate. And I've dealt with recruiting agencies. I've worked with recruiting agencies. I've worked at a recruiting agency, and so I know that there are great opportunities out there that recruiters are working on. It's just that it's such a high turnover industry because it is sales, and because it is like doing a lot of cold calling, that you have to find that recruiting veteran who has been there for a long time, and she's got the connects, and see how that goes. Any other questions? I was about to interview for a position which was put on hold due to COVID. Do you have any tips on how to maintain a relationship with the employer and stay on top of mind in preparation for their hiring freeze is over? Yeah, absolutely. So it's just a matter of staying in touch, and that is how you stay on the top of their mind. And so by reaching back out to let them know that that, you understand because of everything that's going on with COVID, that, you're still interested in the opportunity. What's the status? Sending holiday cards. I have clients who do that all the time, sending a holiday card. If there's some type of holiday going on, that is another nudge, and another way to follow up without saying each time, hey, what's the status? Hey, what's the status? Hey, what's the status? So just finding creative ways to stay in contact. And so again, the first follow-up is letting them know that, you're still interested in inquiring about the status. And then, just staying in contact and just having something different to follow up on each time, a different talking point versus just what's the status. Do recruiters care about LinkedIn learning modules or certifications on your profile? I do think that it's great to show professional development. I would say that LinkedIn learning and certifications is a great way to show passion and commitment about your field. So that is something that could definitely, it doesn't hurt you at all. It does more good than harm. In terms of certifications, I mean, you have to think about your industry. You think about the project management field, the HR field. Those certifications are becoming so popular, almost everyone in the field has it now, or they know they have to get it. So definitely stay on top of your game. Thank you for hosting. Yeah, you're welcome. Can you speak to job reposting? I've seen positions posted on job boards in February. Yeah, that means that there was some turnover. Maybe they hired someone and someone didn't work out. And so it's just, some people feel like, well, wow, what was wrong with that position then? Do I want that job? Everyone's different. You never know. It could be something that works out for you. But yeah, that means that there was some turnover or there's growth. Maybe there's a second position created, and that's a good thing. A growing company is good. I hope this session provided some great insight to you. I tried to cram so much into this 1 hour, and I was just so nervous, like, okay, what do I focus on? Do I want to expand on this or that? It's so much that goes into this, but I wanted to make sure that you have the core stuff, right?
Lucretia, this is amazing. There's so many good nuggets. I know job searching, right? There's so many packed topics, and I think you shared some really great highlights that were digestible within an hour. So I know I was even, jotting down a bunch of notes. So thank you so much just for joining us this afternoon, for sharing your expertise and your personal, insight into just even the recruiter aspect was really enlightening. It's always good to know what's going on behind the scenes. That helps us know as job seekers, right, what we can do and where we should dedicate our time if it's limited. So thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Lucretia, any last thoughts or before we wrap up?
Any last thoughts? Let's see. Let me do just a very, very quick send off about building a LinkedIn network and leveraging the platform. You guys, LinkedIn is, for lack of better phrasing, where it's at. And you should not sleep on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is not just about an online resume. You need to make sure that your LinkedIn profile, that you complete all sections, meaning you have a great headline that's not just your job title. Your about section is fleshed out. You have all your job experiences in there with details, not just the position name and, all that stuff. You need to have job details there as well, right? And you do need to shorten it from your resume. You do need to include recommendations. So if you haven't already done so, start reaching out to at least 3 people who can write you a recommendation on your profile. Hey, person, remember we worked on such and such project together. Can you write me a recommendation on how we achieved this or that? When you reach out to when you reach out to people for recommendations, always give them a template, meaning like, what do you want them to write about? Because people don't write recommendations because they feel like they don't know what to say or they don't know what to talk about, kind of thing. And that's all. I could talk about this stuff all day. So I'm going to let you guys go.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I can feel your passion and we're not even in the same room. So I again, thank you so much for joining us. And, volunteering your time to educate our community. As we've certainly addressed, it's always a great topic to chat about, but especially now with unemployment being on the rise. And for all of you that joined us, thanks so much. You will receive a post-event email with the recorded session. And Lucretia, if you're okay with that, I'll include the information you shared on how to connect in that email as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you all again. Have a wonderful afternoon.
All righty. So long.